Welcome to the OC, bitches.
Yes, welcome. We have some explaining to do, don't we,
okay,
Mindy?
So welcome to episode 3, The Gamble.
Mhm.
Today we talked to Peter Gallagher. And full transparency here, folks, this was Rachel's and my first outing. We were testing what we wanted to do with the show, and we had so much fun, and we were so excited to talk to Peter that a couple things happened. I forgot to hit record on the sound. I of course I hit record on the camera because I'm used to that. But so the sound is a little bit off. It still got recorded through the computer. So I'm sorry about that, Rachel. But
yeah, no, we're just doing a full disclaimer. So, it might sound a little different than the rest, but we had such a great conversation with Peter. We still wanted to share it. And we did the best we could. But so just so you know, if it sounds a little funny, it's because Mindy forgot to hit record.
I did, and it hasn't happened again. Also, we also didn't talk about the episode too much. We just had this fun catching up conversation with Peter.
Let's not give away the farm. Let's just have them sit back and relax and enjoy, and don't judge us or blame us.
Thanks for being here, everyone.
Welcome to the OC, bitches.
Yes, welcome to the OC, bitches.
Today we are going to be going over episode 3 from season 1, The Gamble. It was written by Jane Espenson. Please say I pronounced that right. Directed by our beloved Ian Toynton. The synopsis of this episode: Sandy comes to Ryan's rescue once again. Kirsten decides to invite Dawn to an elite Vegas night, but she gets lost in the sauce, disappointing Ryan. Dawn believes Ryan is better off with the Cohens, leaving him with Sandy and Kirsten. Meanwhile, Julie is furious when she finds out Jimmy borrowed money from Kirsten, and she thanks Sandy, who is unaware of this.
So excited to be here. Our guest today is one of our favorite people. He's a Leo. He's a fellow foodie. He sang in an a cappella group called the Beelzebubs. He's an avid golfer, a legendary storyteller. He once hosted an epic Capture the Flag event for the cast of the OC at his home in Connecticut, where he famously held hands with Tate Donovan while in flag jail. He's the father to Jamie and Catherine, wife to Paula. His middle name is Killian. He's frustratingly handsome, and he's everyone's favorite TV dad, Sandy Cohen, our very own Peter Gallagher.
Hello, you beautiful creatures. So good to see you guys.
We're
so excited.
Happy to see you.
Hey, Mindy.
Hi, Peter. So tell us, where are you right now?
I am in quarantine on the north coast of British Columbia in a beautiful hotel with suites on the water called the Point House. And it's gorgeous. I figured if I had to go stay inside for 2 weeks, I'd want something beautiful to look at and be able to walk out on my porch every once in a while. Thanks for stopping by. I'm very lonely.
But are you shooting? You're not there shooting something?
I won't, not yet. I have to.
You will be,
in
right?
quarantine for 2 weeks.
Right. Yeah, in Canada, and you can't leave for 2 weeks.
Right.
Yeah.
What project are you on?
I'm doing Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist, which is a show I did.
That is so fun.
Year
Alice Lee, who's on that, I worked with, and she is one of my favorite people. So please send her my love.
Alice Lee, did you say?
Yes.
I adore her. She is so talented. Have you ever heard her sing and dance?
Oh, yeah. She's amazing. She's incredible.
She's
I was
amazing.
on a show with her, and
she plays my daughter-in-law.
She does?
Yes,
oh
the mother of my grandson, married to Andrew Leeds, who plays my son. Yeah.
Oh, that is so cool. Yeah, please
I'll see
tell
her.
I say hello.
I'll see her in about a week.
Love her. Love her to death.
I love the show.
Oh, that's crazy.
Your rendition of True Colors literally had me in tears.
Oh, thanks. That's a very
I'm
hard
going to watch for sure. I've been meaning to. It's on my list. It's on my playlist.
Oh, you might shed a tear or two.
Oh, I'm known to shed many.
But I'm really...
Me too. Seeing the show.
I'd like to ask you both. We had to revisit this wonderful show that we got to be a part of back in 2003. What was it like to rewatch these first few episodes? It's been a while for me.
Yeah, same. Peter, why don't you go first?
All right. Well, I actually hadn't watched 3 out of the first 4 episodes that I watched. I just seen the pilot. So I watched the pilot and I was so moved.
Yes.
And I think part of it, what always drew me to this project was because it came on the heels of 9/11. And I was in New York during 9/11. And, and I lost cop friends and firefighter friends in 9/11. And the house next to, I was on Broadway at the time, and the house next to it, the firehouse next to us, lost 15 guys. And I would see one sheets for cop shows on buses. And I'm thinking, I should just become a cop. Why pretend anymore? And so and then the response to 9/11 was people wanted to throw up walls, like recently in our recent past, and keep foreigners away, keep people who are different from us out. And so here was a show that was all about this outsider who's in a community he's not really a part of because he loves his wife and embraces another outsider. And to me, that was what was powerful about being American, not being ruled by your fear of the other, but your confidence in yourself and your confidence in our American way of life, that, we're more than that. So what I saw, especially in the environment we've been in the last 4 years in particular, where there's been such harshness and impatience, and, as we saw people coming to attack the Capitol to kill other Americans, there's this kind of aggression and anger and judgment. And when I saw this kid who was in trouble for no real reason of his own, getting help, and somebody caring about him in the way that it should be, I was just so moved and so happy to be part of it. And the other thing is, I couldn't believe how much happens in the show. I read the show. It's like, oh my God, this is the same day. He was in jail and now he's meeting Marissa and then this and that. I thought Josh had to have been like close to death by the end of the first season, writing all these episodes. And the other thing I never realized, and then I watched the next 3 episodes, and I really only knew you guys from scenes, if I was in scenes with you, or from the makeup trailer.
Right.
So little demure Rachel Bilson, who's a guest star, sits down. I remember talking to you when you first sat in the chair in the makeup trailer, Rachel.
Oh, God.
And it was and you were a guest star. And we were talking. I thought, oh, man, this girl is on the ball. She so gets it.
Aww.
And I was thinking, oh, she's going to be around. And
thanks, Peter.
You were around. But then I watched this show, and oh, my God, the two of you. Mindy, I feel like I knew you, but then I saw you in action. It was like, they're firecrackers. I couldn't believe it. You were like, wow. And then I saw Jimmy, Tate. No, I saw the way Kirsten, Kelly, was in her scenes with Tate. I was like,
jealous?
She loves him. She still loves him. She never looks at me like that. Oh my gosh. And so glad I didn't see. I'm so glad I didn't see that, because I would have had a hard time getting over that.
I think there's some really wonderful themes in this. First of all, I was very, very moved by the pilot as well.
Oh, yeah.
And I think Ben does an amazing job of portraying this kid who's had so much trauma, and especially when in this particular episode, his mother comes back and he really lets us realize that he's gone through so much. And when she gets drunk and goes off the deep end and leaves, there needed to be something really extreme to make it okay for him to stay with Sandy and Kirsten.
Right.
It just made sense. But I think it's interesting I thought the dynamic with the fact that Kirsten as a mother, I understand that she's concerned about their son, Seth, hanging out with this kid, and all of a sudden he's doing things he's never done before. And somehow you guys have this big heart and you take him into the home, which is the whole premise of this show. It's
amazing. It's really moving.
Yeah, it was really, my hat's off to Josh Schwartz for just writing this really a wonderful story that he knew. He was a fish out of water, and he told the story just so creatively and truthfully, and it has had such a place in our world. In my mind, people made fun of me for thinking it had any relationship to do with response to xenophobia post 9/11, but I still believe it's true, and I think it has as much of a place in our world right now. You know, how shocking to see someone risk something for another,
Right.
for one who's,
Yeah.
you know. So
I mean,
that
going
was
back and watching and just, I mean, I was like ugly crying watching, you know, these first few episodes, just like, wow, what a thing that we created and that Josh created, and everyone brought something so special to it, I feel like, you know, and watching you both, Peter and Mindy, just, you guys are just so good, and you really make the audience, because I was watching it as an audience member. I mean, I'm not really in the first few episodes, you know, and I was
you could
just
have
so
fooled me. In my mind, you are, but anyway.
I mean, you know, I have some moments where I get Seth's name wrong a few times, but you know, as Summer did in the beginning.
You were.
Well,
very
look,
memorable.
I was very grateful to be a part of it, but just watching you guys, I was just like, you really bring the audience in, and that's a gift. And I was just very, very emotional and moved, and I want to watch the whole series as an audience member, you know, trying to detach myself, because it's just a show that just makes you feel, you know, and people have been so detached in so many ways.
Yeah.
So it really made me feel, and I was like, you know, at first it was hard, and I was texting, like live texting Josh, which I do through every episode I'm watching.
Wow.
And I'm just like, oh my God, and this, and I forgot about this. And it's just like, just brings up so many emotions and good memories, fond memories.
I mean, Peter, you texted me and you said, I'm about to watch, a little nervous, which is exactly the way I thought. I had my daughter CG and my husband Adam on either side of me, and they both just kept looking at me like, she is mean.
But you're so mean.
They're
so
right.
good at
You
being
were.
mean.
Oh my God.
but it's but I do have a very huge issue with the amount of bronzer, and the whole tanning thing was a little bit like unbalanced, I feel
Well,
like.
I think we were experimenting a bit. I noticed I changed a few shades myself.
But
well, you have to be
I
tan,
mean, it's
living by the beach.
Yeah, no, and I'm a surfer.
But it was also sparkly
Right.
tan. It wasn't just tan. We were glitter tan. That's a special quality from Orange County that only you get there.
It's the glow from within.
Exactly.
But, you know, I think it's and it's also, Rachel, you pointed out something that it's really wonderful to sit back and just be a fan of the show, which I mean, we've all been on different projects over the years, and I haven't always liked everything or necessarily, you know, gotten excited to watch a show, but I really just loved watching this show and seeing everyone else's characters. And yes, and Adam and Ben, Misha, everybody, the casting, what just fit like a perfect puzzle. And that doesn't always happen on projects. And I really am a fan of the show. And as the shows went on and the writers were inspired to write for our characters, which is always a blessing, it just got better and better. Do you want to talk about this episode, The Gamble? I have a couple questions.
Sure, fire away.
You had some really impactful scenes with Ben, especially in this. First of all, where was the juvie, the prison? Do you know where that location was? Was it a real jail? Do you remember?
Yeah, I think it was a kind of a detention center or something like that. It was pretty real. I can't remember if it's functioning or they just dressed it. I can't remember exactly where it was, but it was pretty real.
But also, your what are your impressions of the first? I mean, the first scene isn't the very first scene of the show ever filmed. Sorry, going back, is when
you're in the
Ryan shows up and his mother's gone, and you say, "Come on, we're going back to the OC."
I mean, I remember that scene, and I remember that scene in the when we first meet. When I'm I pick up his case from the docket, and I'm his public defender. And I remember Doug directing the scene, and I remember after the first time through, I remember Doug was like, "Oh," because, and I thought, "Oh, this will be fun. This will be good." I could feel that Doug and I were on the same wavelength. I tell you one thing about that episode. I see the Noopsies. The Noopsies are there, and says, "Oh, these vultures."
I'm so sorry about that poor boy, but he's locked up. Yes. I know. But then, of course, it turns into, there's the scene where you come up and say, but Julie, come on, we welcome outsiders. I'm from the Bronx. I mean,
you're from Riverside.
That's close. And Julie's embarrassed.
Yeah, she's like,
and you're proud. And Julie is the epitome of Orange County, all perfect on the inside, and I'm and insecure and it's so imperfect on the inside. But everybody's imperfect, so.
Right. I was just exposing your hypocrisy.
Yes, which is kind of what the world is every day. Right?
Yeah. Okay. So, I don't know if you remember this particular song from the episode of The Gamble, but music obviously is such a big part, the OC. And at the end of the scene, I feel like it's when I think Ryan's mom's leaving. She gets in the car. And it's Turn Breaks, Rain City. Is that the song playing there? Anyway, it's how music, it just takes you back, and that song coming on, it was just like, oh my gosh, like what a time. What amazing music, they brought into this show.
Music was such a huge.
It was so
Alex
relevant.
Patsavas, wasn't she the music supervisor?
Incredible. It was another character in the show. It was an additional character. It was the music itself. And just that moment and that song playing, it was just like, oh my gosh, the music was so good. I just had to bring that one song up because it was just it really hit me watching it. But I just think that it really Ian Toynton, directing it, and he directed so many for us.
I love Ian.
And that set the tone as well, for the series. When he came on for 3, he took it from Doug Lyman and kept running with it, and the timing and everything else. And it was just really painting this picture of what this world is going to be. And it was done so beautifully. And Peter, you have so many amazing scenes in the episode. All the relationships that are kind of unfolding and happening. And,
Thank you, Josh.
Wasn't this the episode where you decide that Ryan's going to stay with you and Kirsten from here on out?
Yeah.
This is the
and also it was
moment.
done very. It was a difficult thing to do because it ended up being, a sort of a realization on the actress's death.
Who played Daphne?
The character's Dawn. That
very good,
she really could not give him what he needed, and there was a chance that she could. And so it was a very artful and powerful way to make that situation happen.
And up until this episode, Kirsten very understandably was resisting this idea
until she saw the reality of it.
And also, to go back, I've said this before, that Josh really thinks these first 3 episodes are really the true pilot. And it was Kirsten seeing him in juvie. And by the way, those background kids, the background at the juvenile, at the juvie, they were kind of scary.
Yeah, they were. It was good. That was good. I didn't move.
And Kirsten says, clearly, I'm bringing him back. He's going to get killed there. Sandy was always, he could see it going either way, or he would embrace Ryan. But it was Kirsten who ultimately had to be on board, because as a married couple, right, you guys need to be a united front, I would think. So unless she's
given money to Jimmy.
Well, here's
so Peter's still in a rage, over this relationship that was unfolding on screen that he wasn't aware of. I said, "Yeah, you're still in a rage." What?
How did that make you? Yeah, how did that make you feel to see Kirsten's giving money away? And is it jealous? Is it just flat out? how could you do this? Or like you said, it's not the money, it's that you didn't share it with me.
That's all. It was that.
Is it more of a betrayal?
Right. Had I seen the smile on her face when she was with Jimmy there, when he was talking about that would have upset me. But
well, and I love that line where Seth comes to visit Marissa, and Jimmy says, "How's your mother?" He says, "Married." And then he sees
Seth.
You see Summer in a bra next.
Yeah, really.
Just
you
my
guys
uniform.
both were very, very, wow. I had no idea. I really was just, I could understand
Peter,
all the.
Sorry, I didn't mean to
My
cut you off.
daughter said, "Dad, you don't realize Summer and Julie were iconic." So,
Oh,
I
Catherine, I
get it.
love you. That's awesome.
But it started, it was all of a sudden these little zingers. There was a scene with Marissa that was very sweet, and you could see that Julie was actually trying, and Marissa actually says, "Thanks, Mom." Like it's a surprise, and it's, yeah, that's what I'm here for, honey. And of course, we know it goes pretty seriously downhill from that. But these little zingers when she finds out that Kirsten is, gave us this money, and instantly, what is this going to look like? And Kirsten says, "I like your dress," and oh, you like it because it's yours. and we're coming up to Sandy and saying, "Thank you so much."
I know, really.
Yeah.
And walking away with a little. But it's this show has such a pace. It ramps up, and that dun 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 that music, it plays the whole first opening of the casino night.
Right.
And then and as soon as the alcohol comes in, it just plummets really quick.
Oh yeah.
Disastrously.
Alcohol has a way
every
of doing
relationship just everything was just broken.
Yeah, it's a really good episode. And like we said, it was really fun to rewatch it.
Apostrophe. This episode is sponsored by Apostrophe, a prescription skincare company for people that are ready to take their acne seriously.
Prescription acne treatment really works, but it's hard to get. You have to take time off work to see a doctor and sit in line at the pharmacy for your medications.
Until Apostrophe. Apostrophe makes it easy to see a board-certified dermatologist online. You'll get treated immediately, and your medications are delivered to your home.
I filled out Apostrophe's online questionnaire about my skin concerns, which, they've totally changed over the years. I had acne. Gosh, it got really bad when I was 19 and kind of cleared up when I was 28. But I still get breakouts, and I can't use anything too harsh. But they sent me a prescription topical solution specific to my needs, and all from my living room.
That is so cool. I mean, I am an avid online shopper. And to be able to go through this and not have to go to a dermatologist's office, it's so convenient. And I am a huge fan of anything with this level of convenience.
Get $15 off your first visit with a board-certified dermatologist at apostrophe.com/TheOC and use our code TheOC. This code is only available to our listeners.
To get started, just go to apostrophe.com/TheOC and click Begin Visit. Then use the code TheOC at sign up and you'll get $15 off your dermatology visit. That's APOSTROPHE.com/TheOC. And use that code TheOC to get your dermatology visit for $15 off. And we thank Apostrophe for sponsoring the podcast. Grubhub. I've had a super busy day with my daughter, so I think I'm going to make my life easier and order Grubhub tonight.
Well, yeah, why not? I mean, it's so easy to use. You can get delivery or you can pick up your favorite foods from your favorite restaurants on Grubhub. Oh, I didn't know that. You can actually order it through Grubhub and pick it up. That's actually kind of a cool thing. Sometimes we don't want people coming to our door. I don't know.
Well, yeah, or just the convenience if you're out and it's just ready there for you to just pick it up on your way home.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Grubhub has come to my rescue many times, especially school nights where everything is limited as far as preparing and whatnot. So I am very grateful to have this so accessible.
Me too. No, for sure. I love to order things that I can't make myself. And that's usually Thai food, sushi, Vietnamese food, something that the other people do it much better than me. But delivery is fast. And, the last time I ordered, it came in like 30 minutes. But you know what I found out? I found out that you can order the night before if you need to plan ahead, if you're having a really busy day.
Ooh, that's a great tip.
I still like to support the restaurant industry during this time. Get the food you love with perks from Grubhub. Grub what you love.
Peter, tell us how you got involved and maybe the audition process. Did they offer it to you? How did that
Walk us through it, if you don't mind.
Okay. Well, I had, what was it? 2001, 2003, right? 2003. I had just gotten a new manager. I had absolutely no activity going on. I just finished a Broadway show. Maybe not absolutely.
That's a lot of activity, Peter, a Broadway show.
Well, it was over. But
never mind.
But it was anyway. I had a new manager, and she made some phone calls. And no one had made any phone calls on my behalf in television in like years, which I didn't know. And so that explained that. And so I was sent this script, an offer, just straight offer. And I read it, and it's like one of those few times when you get an offer and you think, oh my gosh, this is brilliant. I thought that about Sex, Lies, and Videotape. I thought that about American Beauty. I thought that about, anyway, that's enough for the moment. But where I read the script and think, oh, this is perfect. And, I had never really had a chance to do much comedy on film or TV. And I saw it. And I just loved the character because I loved the idea of playing a dad. And I love these characters. And then when I met the cast, I just thought it was perfectly cast. And I just loved you guys. I loved seeing you come to work. I loved seeing you grow. And I remember Misha showing up on our door there at our set, and she was 16 years old.
16. I mean, can you imagine?
And I thought I couldn't find my way out of my bedroom when I was 16 years old. And I just was from day one concerned about her,
Yeah.
Just aware of her and thinking what an awesome responsibility it was on us, on the production, to take care of someone who was so young in such a challenging environment.
It was interesting how young she was, yet how seasoned. You know what I mean?
Well, she looked seasoned, maybe,
she
but
looked
I don't
seasoned,
think she was. She was still 16.
Right.
Yeah.
Seasoned in the way that she taught me about flavored lattes at Starbucks, on the.
Well, she was a city kid.
Yeah, she was like, you have to get a hazelnut latte. And I was like,
see, in the city, you don't need a car to get around.
Right. Exactly.
You can get to Starbucks with your own 2 feet.
You grow up faster.
Or the subway if you want to go to another Starbucks.
Oh, you didn't tell the story about having to sing for Gail Berman.
Oh my God, Gail Berman. Oh, that's right. So it was an offer, but I had to meet. It was an offer, but contingent upon meeting Gail Berman, whom I adore, who was so responsible for the success of our show. She was such a champion of this show. And I remember, so Gail, I went in to meet Gail, and the network thing in that room, they have, with all the people there. And she said, Peter, would you like this part? I said, I'd love this part. Great. Now, would you please sing Luck Be a Lady for me? And so, absolutely. So I sang Luck Be a Lady for her live, which is a song I sang on Broadway a few years earlier. And she's a big theater fan. And so that was the easiest job I ever got.
She gave you the job in the room.
Yeah. I mean, I shouldn't say, I think that's what happened. I remember her saying that. I mean, ish. Yeah.
I read a quote from John Hamm, who auditioned for the role of Sandy Cohen, maybe tested, and he said, and I saw Peter Gallagher over there and thought, what the hell am I doing?
Well, I was like, 20 years older than him, too. He was like 30 years old to play. It wasn't going to happen. And Harry Hamlin, I squeaked by that one.
Isn't it interesting? No, there were different people that were up to play Ryan as well.
I know. The point is that you can't really believe anything you hear. Yeah.
No.
It's an offer. You're the only one they're considering. Not.
I remember showing up the first time I was in the van from base camp going to the party and the pilot. You guys had already been shooting. I came in kind of late. And I saw Ben dressed up in a tuxedo. And I thought he was Seth. And I thought Adam Brody was the bad boy.
What?
Maybe just because of the way they were. That because I read the script and didn't know anything. And who
You look at Brody and you're like, that's a bad boy.
Well, maybe it's just the way he was acting. I don't know.
I
don't know. Brody could be the bad boy.
Sure.
Well, he
was just such a good
auditioned
Seth.
for-
It's just hard to think of.
Yeah,
at
you
that
can't
point.
those Seth
Think of him
curls.
as something else. Really?
I listened to Adam on a podcast recently, and he was talking about how much he loved Doug Lyman and Vince Vaughn, and how he stole a lot or borrowed, or that was his inspiration. And rewatching the pilot or watching these last few episodes, I could see that really quick-witted delivery, and it was so infectious and endearing, and it was so original, and had such an impact. So
I always thought this about this show. I always thought this was an important show. I always thought this was, and I love what I thought was important about it too, was the fact that so many kids would watch it with their parents, usually daughters with their mothers. But my landlord here, the hotelier, was just saying, yeah, I watched that show with my daughters. And, so anything to provide that opportunity for a family, for mothers and daughters, or fathers and daughters, or fathers and sons, or mothers and sons to have a shared experience, and from that embark on talking about substantial things. It's really it's a gift to be part of that, to be contributing to, constructive dialogue rather than, other kinds of things.
my father was a very severe critic, but he loved it. He loved that first season specifically. But you were also, by the time the OC started, I did my deep dive Peter Gallagher research.
I hope you didn't
were
hurt yourself.
20 you were a 20-year veteran, and Rachel was just starting out. We were all at different points in our career, and I'm interested in how everyone's different experience of how that huge success within a month affected all of us.
That's a good question.
Had you had a success like that? I certainly hadn't.
I hadn't, not on television, I don't think. The closest thing I had to that was probably when I was doing The Real Thing on Broadway with Mike Nichols, with Glenn Close and Jeremy Irons. It was a new Tom Stoppard play.
Yeah.
And Christine Baranski and Cynthia Nixon when she was still in high school. Jeremy Irons, Glenn Close, who else? And Ken Welsh. And it was a great play, The Real Thing by Tom Stoppard. And I had done a lot of Broadway up to that point, but I'd never done a hit. And this was a hit with the A-Team. And it was unbelievable. It was just explosive. You'd see Mick Jagger in the downstairs waiting out the intermission, and people lined up around the block, and the audience exploding. I had this great part that I could stop the show 3 times a night. And so that was the closest thing I'd had to. I had divorced myself from the notion of requiring something to be successful for it to be important to me or valuable, because I'd had no experience with it up until that point. So for the first 10 years of my career, I didn't really have to deal with that. I was on Grease on Broadway, but it was already open. I didn't have to worry about that. And so I had no expectation that it would succeed, but I had the OC, but I had the very strong instinct that there was a place for it. But when we went down to Huntington Beach, we went to that place? Huntington Beach?
Redondo.
It was Manhattan Beach Pier
Huntington.
or Redondo Beach Pier.
Yeah, okay, yeah, it was one of those two.
But
And
we came over the hill.
That's when I realized that, we had a tiger by the tail. But it was just thrilling. When something succeeds in show business, it is a miracle.
I have that quote written down. When someone works in show business, it's a miracle, that you said in an article this last year.
Yes, I did. Oh, I probably said that about the theater. I said that about the theater, something like that. It was like when theater works, there's nothing like it, because for a moment, nobody feels alone. For a moment, we're all members of the same family. That's what happened here with this success. Everybody, the irony of it is my father never spoke to me. He was a good guy. I worked hard, but he never spoke to me. My biggest failing in life is that I couldn't get my father to respond to me. No matter how hard I tried, in the back of my mind, I said, what kind of actor are you? You can't even get your old man to respond to you. And so I was already primed to be invested in the notion of playing a father that wouldn't be like that. Now, my father's a good man. I'm not saying anything about my father. It would have been nice if he talked to me. So I was really thrilled with the idea of being that kind of father. And what I discovered in the meantime, since we've done the show, I get contacted almost daily from people around the world that have an exam that they're worried about, or they're nervous about this, or they're, when they wanted to. And so it speaks just to what an appetite there is out there for parents, for fathers, that are around, or that listen, or that are interested, or that care, or whatever. So I felt very, very lucky for my own self to explore that. And then to have two little kids of my own that you guys met when they were little kids when we were doing it.
How old were they?
Yeah,
They were, when the show started?
Well, I brought them out. I blew their mind. In fact, that when the house was burning down, remember the house? We were there in the middle all night when the model home burned.
Yeah.
And you were pacing back and forth saying private school.
I was pacing back and forth because I had a flight that morning to go, because I was commuting back and forth to New York.
Oh,
you were commuting, doing the OC in the beginning from New York. So I was living in a house in Manhattan Beach. Right. I remember that.
Every week I'd fly back to New York, and everybody'd be irritated with me because I was no good to them and I was no good to me. And then so a year later, we moved them all out. So they were 10 and 13, 9 and 12, 10 and 13.
How did they feel about that transition at that age?
It really blew, I got to be honest, it blew their minds from New York to also what was really not terrible. It was very hard for them to make an impression because their father all of a sudden was not just their father, he was Sandy Cohen. Mm-hmm. So a girl would ask my daughter, do you go on vacations with your father? And she said, yeah. And my son basically, I don't think he talked to me for 2 years after I completely, exploded his life, and he had to deal with the Sandy Cohen stuff. But it ended up being tremendously creative and a wonderful thing that we did, and it was, something we all look back on fondly.
I remember meeting Catherine. You invited us. She was singing from Gypsy. She was 10 years old.
I can't believe that's right.
And I brought CG. CG was 3, listeners. My daughter, 3 and 7 when it ended. And Catherine and my daughter's Catherine, Peter's daughter is Catherine as well. But we used to come see her sing, and she had a big voice at 10 singing.
She was Mama Rose in that production.
She was Mama Rose.
I was Gypsy. When I saw her do that production and play Mama Rose at 10 or 11
in Santa Monica. Yeah.
So well, I thought, oh my goodness. Now she has a Tony nomination and a Grammy nomination.
Does she really?
Yeah, she got a Tony nomination for Jagged Little Pill. In fact, while we're talking about her, I got to tell you this.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely.
So last October, 2019 in October, they were in tech rehearsals for Jagged Little Pill, my daughter, Catherine Gallagher. And Ben McKenzie was about to move in across the street in his play, Grand Horizons, I think. And Catherine, naturally, when he arrived, sent a cake over and said, "Welcome to 44th Street, bitch." And so, but she was in tech on Halloween then when Ben hadn't moved in. But she thought, okay, who am I going to be for Halloween this year? I'm going to be Julie Cooper. So she got a pink, juicy
suit
jumpsuit, and she's walking down the street. This is after she's in tech, so then it's not really doing any Halloween stuff. The cast are just dressed up as who they were going to be. And she's walking home or walking to dinner before going back to the theater, and she's in her pink jumps thing, juicy. The car is following her on 44th Street. I mean, there are all the cars. But finally, the car pulls up. She's nervous. Hey, I'm so sorry to bother you, but listen, we're having an argument in the car here. We're trying to figure out who you are for Halloween. I say you're Julie Cooper. Who are you? And she said, oh my gosh, I'm Julie Cooper. I'm so glad you recognize that. And she said, yes.
That's amazing.
And then not only that, but then she was invited to a show in Brooklyn, which was like this crazy thing where Julie Cooper says at one point in the show about they'll still be alive in 100 years, the Noopsies, or something like that, something about time. And so they cast Julie Cooper as this sort of prophet for the coming of sci-fi kind of craziness. So there's a lot of creativity that's been encouraged from Mr. Schwartz's first.
The zebra. Think about all the quarantine purchases you made this past year. I know that I purchased a ton of sweatpant matching outfits, a lot of food delivery stuff, some personal hygiene, facial products and whatnot, because, even inside, you need to be moisturized.
I'm trying to think. I spent a lot on food for sure. I went shopping a lot to feed us. Yes, takeout, hair products because I was doing it myself. And you know what? I spent a lot on cleaning products.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That was probably the biggest purchase for everyone this past year.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of crafty things. I painted furniture. I did a lot of fun stuff like that.
Then there's one of our biggest purchases of the year, insurance. Americans overspend on car and home insurance by billions every year. That's money that could have been spent on more retail therapy.
And Rachel, that's where the Zebra can help you. The Zebra is the nation's leading insurance comparison site for car, home, and insurance. I tried out their website, and it is super simple. You just enter your zip code and then answer a few questions.
In minutes, you can compare policies from every major provider for free, all on one independent marketplace.
The Zebra pairs people with the right insurance company for them, helping everyone save time and money. You can buy online or over the phone with one of their licensed insurance agents.
Get your free quote today.
Make insurance your smartest purchase yet. Visit thezebra.com/OC. That's THEZEBRA.com/OC.
Billy, self-care and routine are more important than ever. Whatever you use at the start of your day should make you feel amazing.
I agree. And, I actually have kind of a love-hate relationship with shaving. It's necessary, but at times it can cause, razor burn or irritation. And good razors are really expensive.
That's why we love Billy, the best razor out there for those days when you want an extra smooth shave. No pink tax, no visit to the drugstore, no breaking the bank.
You can go to mybilly.com to get their starter kit for just $9. It's so affordable and includes their award-winning razor, 2 refill blades, and a cult favorite magnetic holder.
Yeah, especially this last year when you couldn't go anywhere. And if you wanted to wax or whatever it was, having a razor that is this good is key. I am super happy that we discovered this.
And I have tried the other options like waxing, and I'm sorry, I can't do it. It's too painful. Yeah, people could hear me screaming from miles away. But this really is my favorite razor that I've ever used. I almost feel guilty for how inexpensive they are. And they're also female founded, and everything is made without like synthetic junk, all that plastic junk,
Love that. Billy is an Allure Best of Beauty winner and on Nylon's beauty hit list for a reason.
And to express a little love for our show, go to mybilly.com/OC. It's a small way you can support us while getting the best razor you will ever own. It's just $9 to get your starter kit, plus free shipping always. Go to mybilly.com/OC, spelled BILLIE.com/OC.
I've always said or tried to explain to people that this is absolutely not a 90210 teen show, where those shows would tend to reflect pop culture. This show created pop culture in addition to reflect. But Josh brought in things like all kinds of references and the comic books, and he brought in and he didn't use just top 40 music. He used so many things that actually people responded to,
that advanced the story, and that lived in the world that our audience was living in, not the world that just. Yeah, I mean, it was really. It was so exciting. It was so exciting to be relevant. And
well, Rachel, how was it for you guys as kids in that success?
Yeah, that's what I'd love to hear about too.
That's what, because as from us as adults, it's like I have a 3-year-old at home. I go to work a couple times a week. It's great for me, and you guys don't have that kind of you don't have those dependents at home. So I loved being on this show. It was perfect, and you guys, I mean, your experience was different though. Well, first thing out of the,
right. Yeah, I mean, I had done a couple of guest spots and commercials, and then I got this show. And, I think it's funny you mentioned that event. I think it was in Manhattan Beach, where everyone went, and we couldn't believe the number of people that showed up to see us and were excited about the show. And I remember deliberately, because my character was, let's be honest, she was a bitch at first. She was not that nice. I remember specifically just being determined to be so overly nice to everybody we met that night. And there were hundreds of people. And I was like, oh my God, hi. Thank you so much for watching the show. So overly nice. Because I really wanted people to know that I wasn't that person. But I just remember that night being a pivotal moment, because we realized how many people were watching the show and excited and into it. And it always sticks out in my memory. But it was interesting, kind of going from nothing to a show of this size and popularity
at 20 years old.
Yeah, I was 21 when I started. Turned 22, I think, the first year. And even for me, I mean, Misha's 16, but we were all kids in our 20s and didn't really know much, but I think some took it better than others. I think some of us maybe got caught up in it. Some didn't. I don't know. I don't know what speaks
I'm just so glad you all survived. Seriously, I'm serious. First fame can be absolutely fatal.
Yeah, sure.
It can be absolutely toxic. And, and because you stop asking questions, you don't know who to trust, you don't know what to believe. And I mean, there's a long list of people who, experienced that kind of fame who didn't make it.
Right. No, you're right. I think,
I was worried about you guys the whole time.
You were the father figure.
Now, you play or have played a lot of bad guys, like I have. But Sandy, in my opinion, is knowing you is the most like you. And I, growing up in Orange County, my mom thought she says, I'm the original Democrat. I was the only Democrat in 1973 in Orange County, because it traditionally kind of swung to the right. But I just love those Sandy and Seth scenes, because they make fun of Newport Bubble. And because we grew up in Dana Point, and it was definitely, it's not the world I grew up in, but I found out after this show that it existed. I'd go to a charity event at the Montage Hotel, and I kid you not, I met the entire OC cast. It exists, and they were so excited to embrace it and say, that's exactly the way we are. I'm like, you're the money manager with the money problems, and there's the alcoholic this, and but your dynamic with Seth, the Sandy Seth dynamic, is really just one of the joys of the show, I think. Talk about that.
I love Brody. I was just listen. It was easy. It was the best job, one of the best jobs I've ever had. It was so easy in some ways, because the writing was so good. And even when there were times that, if I had a question about some of the Sandy stuff that, that as a parent I had a different perspective on than Josh might, he was so available. Especially that first season, it was really special to be able to. I felt like I had the best combination of, working with certain kinds of like filmmakers like Robert Altman and kind of like theater, and everybody I did scenes with, I loved doing scenes with. Wait, where am I going? What's the point? What am I talking about?
Well, I thought that the Sandy Seth relationship was so refreshing.
Right. Yeah.
And, we didn't see.
What I have to credit Josh, because he wrote that relationship, and it was so true and so funny, and I loved Brody, and I felt like he could be my son, and I love play. As I say, I love playing that kind of dad. In the back of my mind, every day I think about my dad, and what it would have been like to have conversations like that with my dad, or just, hey, what do you want to do with your life? Hey, where do you think about going to college? Or, oh, you want to be an actor? What's that like? Anything like that.
Well, and Josh actually said that the Sandy Seth relationship is the most like his, and Rachel, he's probably told you this too, that it's the most like his relationship with his dad, who we all met, and I'm sure you know as well. And Josh also being, what, 26, 27?
He's 27, I think.
26.
27, when we started, he looked up to you, and he was open to your input.
It was very, very, it was very cool, especially that first season. It was a real, it was a wonderful collaborative kind of vibe, and it was a lovely, my hat's off to him for writing this marvelous thing and seeing it make the big screen. Also great, it was also great to have Doug Liman and Dave Bardis on that first season. I thought the way Doug directed that pilot was so real. I remember, just really liking the way how real he made it.
Yeah.
And so there were a lot of happy accidents.
Just watching the pilot and the first, I think Doug directed the second one as well. And just actually looking at the directing, like now that I'm older and like watching things, and you notice like kind of more and more the older you get and the more you've worked, whatever. And I was just so impressed with some of the choices, with the DP and Doug Liman, Jamie Barber and Doug Liman. And I was just like, gosh, this is directed so well and written so well and acted so well. It just kind of checked all the boxes.
Yeah, all the things. I mean, Doug telling the operator, say, don't start on the scene, start over there and find it.
Yes.
And all of a sudden the operator, and all of a sudden the frame had energy. And, and Jamie Barber, my goodness, he was there for, I don't know how he did all those episodes.
I don't either. I mean, it was a lot. We did, one year I feel like we did 27.
We did. The first year we did 27.
First season. That's unheard of. Most seasons are max 22. Now people are doing 8.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, if you don't.
First season. And then we did like 24 this subsequent seasons, I think.
Yeah. So that's hour-long shows, what, 8 days? 8 episodes? I don't even know. But so it takes anyway, it's a very long time, a lot of episodes. And everyone worked so hard. But yeah.
I thought it was going to be more dated. I mean, except for the juicy suits, which is surprisingly distracting every time she's wearing the scene with Misha in the episode we're talking about today.
I think we should bring in the fan questions.
Yeah.
That were queued up.
Let's hear from the fans.
Let's hear what they have to say.
How do you do Sandy Cohen's perfect bagel schmear?
How did I perfect Sandy Cohen's perfect bagel schmear? I made no attempt to do anything perfect. I schmeared the best I knew how. I'm from New York. I adore bagels. Our apartment on 71st Street was just a few blocks from H&H, which might not even be there anymore. And right around the corner on 72nd Street from another great bagel spot. And, it just takes a little practice. And even when you schmear it poorly, it's just as delicious.
You give good schmear.
I try.
I read that your daughter Catherine was bummed that she didn't get the bagel slicer from the set.
Did you? If I had had any brains, I would have snagged that or marketed the Cohen slicer.
That's really what you should have done.
All right.
All right. Next fan question, please.
Okay, guys, it's Catherine Gallagher. Hi, miss you. Love you both. I believe you're having
Both?
my dad
How
on
about
there.
me?
And so I wanted to know if you guys remember Camp Gallagher, the epic game of Capture the Flag, what your favorite memories are, and hi. And miss you both and love you both.
How about me, Catherine?
How cute is
That
that?
is so sweet.
It was the second, wasn't it the
Third.
second season upfronts?
Was it the second season upfronts, the Camp Gallagher?
Yeah,
Right,
probably.
Because I wasn't invited to the first.
Right.
Or just to remember, people,
Okay,
Rachel and
that
I
makes sense. Second.
were only guest stars in the beginning. We only became
like after 8 episodes
regulars
or something?
on number 11, I think.
I don't know the logistics, but upfronts are when you go and you announce these new shows for advertisers and whatnot, and they're in New York. And so the second season, we were all there. Peter obviously lives in New York, or, was in New York also. Do you still have that house in Connecticut?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we just delivered just put a generator in there because we've lost power so many times. We think about that I was just talking, I ran into my wife, literally, in our house in LA. She was coming down the hall one way, I was going the other way, it was a full body slam without any slowing down, just boom. And it brought me right back to running headlong into Ben McKenzie in the pitch black. We were both at full tilt. He was racing as fast as he could at night. We're playing Capture the Flag towards the house. I was racing as fast as I could away from the house. And we collided exactly at full speed. I couldn't believe we didn't break anything. I couldn't believe we weren't damaged.
Mm-hmm.
We just went
Yeah, well.
and took off again. But I thought for sure I had killed him. And that's why I had to go and hold Tate's hand.
Yeah, because we all went to Peter's house.
Julie, Mindy, because you were like the jailer from hell.
From hell, yeah.
She was the jailer on the side, and you couldn't do anything when she was the jailer. So Tate and I were like, what are we going to do? She's like a witch.
We're going to make a human chain and get longer. And I turn around and I look back, and they are holding hands, giggling. And I just looked back and I thought, are you two holding hands on purpose?
No, what happened was we had a whole plan where he had the tree, and then I'd grab his hand, and then I would be out to try to, whatever, I forget how to play the game. You tag somebody or whatever.
If somebody
just
can get
give
you
us
out,
the biggest, reach.
So who
we never
was
let
there?
go of each other's hands. The game was over, and everybody's doing the adding up and so on. And Tate and I are completely oblivious to the fact that we are still holding hands. and all of you guys look at, so is there anything you guys want to tell us? What?
Yeah, right.
No! What are you doing?
But it was this epic Capture the Flag game
At Peter's house.
started
Yeah.
by your son Jamie, and you have quite a number of acres on your
We have a
land in
good field
Connecticut.
out there.
So who was
And
all
we
there?
did it in the dark.
It
It was
you, Mindy,
Jamie.
and Peter.
Jamie and Catherine. Catherine also, she hid the whole time. She didn't really know how to play. Catherine's not competitive, which, she is. But like when she was a soccer player, I said, no, you take the ball. Come on.
Yeah.
So she was hiding and managed to be one of the survivors. I don't know. But
Smart
you guys
strategy.
probably remember this better than I do because I don't really know.
Your friend Leah was
Yes, one of my very best friends,
and
Leah, was with
Adam.
me.
Oh, also
and
Adam's
Brody.
friend, Brett Harrison. The
Brett,
guitar-
Brett Harrison was
Brett was
there.
there.
Big funny guy. As he
I
was
think the
on
only
show.
person missing was Kelly.
Kelly wasn't there, but we were all there. It was
Dude,
Camp
you're right.
Gallagher
Yeah.
in Connecticut.
And I remember Adam just loved being there. He says, you live in a park. We gotta do a reunion.
We should do
should.
Camp Gallagher reunion. Capture the Flag. Well, it'll be an interesting.
Yeah, Mackenzie's in
game.
New York.
Mackenzie, Ben.
We tried to get together a few years ago, and then everyone was out of town. So
Oh right, yeah.
Maybe
It
we
was
can
just
make it.
the summer before last.
Mhm.
And Ben was very sweet. He came to Catherine's opening night in of Spring Awakening, because I think he was in town doing a show then.
Oh, that's awesome.
He was doing Gotham.
Right.
Hi, everyone. My name is Harley. Huge fan of the OC and all of you guys. But my question is for Peter. I just wanted to know, after being on a show for so long, did you feel like you were typecast afterwards? Did that impact any of your future auditions or roles that you got?
That's such an interesting question, Harley. I don't know what. I think in a way my agents were a little embarrassed of my doing that show. They weren't embarrassed taking the commission, but I didn't have any auditions after the OC for anything. I had one audition, and for ages. So I thought it was ironic because I had been typecast as a bad guy up until then, or an asshole, or a jerk, or something that goes along with the face.
Buddy.
Pardon?
Buddy.
Oh, Buddy Kane. Well, you know who I based that whole character on?
We do.
Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And the king of real estate. So maybe I don't know what happened. You know what? It could have been. I remember I ran to a studio head on a plane, and he said, "It's too soon. It's too soon for you. There's this Sandy Cohen thing." So I don't know what happened.
Too well known?
I didn't have
Too much
any. I had very,
success?
very little activity. And then I did another play on Broadway.
Did that happen to you, Rachel? Do you feel like you got
Typecast?
after the OC?
I had done a movie towards the end of the OC. I was commuting back and forth and filming Jumper with Doug Lyman at the end. And I was commuting to Toronto and back. So I kind of was working simultaneously on another project as it ended. But typecast, I don't know, because I feel like Summer took on so many different personas, so there wasn't really a way to typecast her as one thing, because she started off as the bitchy,
Also, you were new.
Yeah, I didn't know
there's nothing hotter than new meat.
Oh,
in Hollywood.
In that sense, okay.
And when I say meat, I mean men and women, not in this. We're meat puppets.
It's a new way to describe
a call, but you're right.
Yeah,
and I mean that in the most respectful way.
Yeah. And Mindy, did you feel like you got typecast?
Well, it's an interesting thing because, yes, Peter makes the point, you're new. And I can only imagine and completely empathize with being young on a show and saying, I always go back to that. I have that bitchy resting phase, so I definitely get the bad guys. But yes, no, there's definitely a lot of that Real Housewife kind of casting and those roles that still, I'll always get those roles for audition.
I got to say, who made a big difference for me? Was Dave Bartis and Doug Lyman.
Really?
Yeah, because the kids were starting to go to college. I was thinking, oh my God, how am I going to get them in college? How am I going to get them through college? How am I going to stay here? It's like, and I said today, I called up Dave because we had stayed friends. Doug had given me an award, an Arthur Lyman Award for in New York for something when I'd done, and Dave and I said, let's have let's get together some coffee. He said, yeah. So we would do that every once in a while. I said, hey, we got this project. I said, there's a partner you could do without makeup. And I said, what's the asshole quotient? I said, 0. I said, I'm in. So I went and did Covert Affairs for 4 years or 5 years. I forget how long. And honestly, Dave Bartis, you kept the organization going. And it was, I always, because I really, where I came from, I think probably the first Broadway show my parents saw I was in. Nobody knew anything about show business. My dad's dad was a coal miner. My mother's dad was from Ireland, and her mother was from Ireland. My mom was first generation. My dad was at first get the education. It was like show business. You know, it was not even in the. It wasn't even in the ether. So I didn't know anybody. So I was going to be the one to prove that it doesn't. You don't. It's not who you know. Idiot. Because it is important. But I was able to call Bartis, and I realized, oh my God, it's not just it's like these relationships you have. I was very grateful for them. I didn't understand. I thought I was just this lone wolf and had to, you know.
I definitely have experienced that. A lot of roles that I've gotten are because I worked with somebody else and the director wanted me and it was a straight offer. A lot of things are offers. Sometimes that audition process, you know, when you're going up against hundreds of people, that's how it works.
We make jokes about that. Like they're bringing in
say no to everyone but one.
Or you show them how the scene can go. Oh, okay.
Peter, I wanted to see if you knew some of these answers with some trivia questions and how.
I don't.
The first trivia question I want to ask you, Peter, according to the original pilot script written by Josh Schwartz, the Cohen's last name was originally going to be what? Look at your face. I didn't know the answer to this either. Do you know it, Mindy? Well, now you do.
I do. But then I found something else about the name.
Oh. Do you have a guess? Nothing?
No, none.
Sandy Silent? Okay.
Sandy Silent?
Yes.
Oh, that would never fly. I'm glad he changed it to Cohen.
So the name that was originally in the script was Needleman.
Wow.
Doesn't have the same ring to it, does it? Sandy
Just think,
Needleman.
It's the little details like that. You never know what makes
But it wasn't wasted. The name wasn't wasted. You know who he gave that name to?
Who?
Colin Hanks's character in The Valley.
Yes.
Oh, that's
Jake
right.
Needleman.
That's right. Needleman.
Or something like that, but the last name is Needleman. Yeah.
And meanwhile, you know, it's so
that
funny.
was a fun fact.
People love the fact that Max Greenfield played a young Sandy Cohen in the bar mitzvah.
The flashback.
You know, with the college thing where he meets Kirsten in college, when they first meet in college. So he played. Oh no, or maybe he played. When they meet in college, a young Sandy Cohen, because he wasn't the bar mitzvah kid. I don't think.
The mail truck when you guys.
Yeah, but I mean, but when we actually first meet at college, that was Max Greenfield. And
really?
Yeah, and I played his dad. Yeah, I played his dad on New Girl.
No way. Oh,
Yeah, people love that.
Funny. Yeah.
People are starting to
Full
put it
circle.
together. Oh my God, like Max
that's so
was
funny.
Sandy, and now Sandy is Max's dad.
Oh my God. He's great.
There are some surprise guest stars that I like. Bella Thorne was a young
What?
Taylor.
Really?
Wow,
Yes.
and Chris Pratt.
never
Remember
knew
Chris
this.
Pratt? I remember him.
Who's that?
I don't know. He
That
had a
reminds
little
you.
burst there for a minute.
Yeah.
Who's that?
One of the
See,
funniest
my
people.
daughter CG, she watched it in about 3 days, the entire 4 seasons, because she loved it so much.
And Catherine just watched the show again too.
Aw.
I think Catherine and CG were talking, but my daughter loved the show again.
That's
She
sweet.
loved it too.
And my daughter,
I kept telling her,
Have you?
No,
Has
no.
your daughter's? No, she's too young.
No. She tried to. I was like watching the other night, trying to sneak it on my laptop with my like headphones in, and she was like, "Mommy,
What's
who's
your
that?"
daughter's
Like she
name?
saw me.
Don't tell me what
Briar.
your daughter's name is. Well, you can tell me.
No,
You can tell me because you
Briar.
can cut it out.
Briar's
What is
her
it?
name.
Who?
Briar.
Briar?
Briar. Yeah.
Briar.
B-R. How do you spell it?
IAR. BRIAR. Briar.
Nice.
That's okay. Her name is. It's known. But yeah, no, she was trying to sneak and she saw me and she didn't even recognize me because I was so tan.
I was going to say, It's too tan.
I know. I saw.
What's wrong, Mom?
We did. We were flinging that bronzer kind of fast and loose in the makeup department there. But
Well, they
I'm
asked
sure.
us to actually have tans, and I don't go in the sun, too much skin cancer in my family. So I was going to the booth, and it would make me orange, and it would make me break out. And
You mean
it
they're
was just-
spraying you?
There's some a booth where it would do that tan. Yeah, you stand in a booth. And this is 2003. I think the technology is a little bit better. But it would spray and then develop.
Oh, right.
And it smelled bad. It was gross. But it gets better, guys, as the season goes.
gets
We
better.
smell so much better as the season progresses.
Oh, what's the next trivia, Rachel?
Oh, do we want? Okay, let's do another one. What was the name of the private practice Sandy went to after leaving the PD's office? I mean, that's a tough one. I don't even. Want me to ask you a different one?
Well, you can ask me anything.
Take a stab at it.
I'm not. I have no idea. I have no idea. Wouldn't even. I remember the office. It was on
That's
the
good
pier.
enough. There you go. Answered. Boom.
There you go.
It was.
Got
But I don't remember the name of the firm. What was it called?
Do you pronounce it Patridge or Patridge? Do you know?
How do you spell it?
Patridge.
Patridge.
Boy, I've never heard of Patrick.
Patridge, Savage, and Con. We know where Savage comes from.
Oh, right.
Stephanie Savage, one of our
Oh.
beloved producers.
Yeah, Josh liked to
And
do
who's
that.
the con artist?
Con, Khan.
Oh, Sammy Cohen.
Yes. Okay, last question. I'm gonna ask you. In this episode, Sandy mentions something Kirsten does that bothers him. What is it?
Oh, she washes the dishes before she puts them in the dishwasher.
Good job.
You got one!
Ding, 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 ding.
One on a high note.
I struggle with that myself.
Well, that was awesome. It has been so much fun talking with you, Peter, and just reliving all of these memories. And it's really good to see you again.
Really good to see you
Quite frankly.
both. So happy.
Thank you
and
so much for the
your growing
insight.
families. So crazy.
Yes. I know, crazy.
Mine's getting smaller. Just as nice.
To everything.
Well, we have to plan. We have to plan Camp Gallagher 2.0. That's on the list. That is happening.
Oh, I'll tell you. We got to do that. We'll figure that out someday, somehow. Or at least,
Yes.
even just get together for a cup of coffee when people are allowed to get together again.
Yep. Let's start there. That sounds awesome.
Yeah. Thank you so much, you guys. Be well.
Thank you.
So great to see you
Thank
both. I
you.
miss you.
You too.
Give my
Miss
love to
you too.
anybody who cares. And
Josh sends his love and says hello.
oh wow,
Yeah.
tell him I said hello and give him my love right back. He's got a family now, I guess, doesn't he?
Yeah. 2 girls. Our
Couple
girls
kids,
are
yeah.
best friends. It's really sweet.
Oh wow, well that's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
All right, you beautiful creatures. If you need
Love
anything,
you,
give me a
Peter.
shout. I'll be doing nothing for the next 9 days.
We have 92 episodes.
Yeah. So if you want to hop on again, pick an episode,
To do.
Peter.
Oh my God,
We'll hold you to it.
We'll be grandparents by the time you get to the end of that.
Yes, we will. Be like,
Well, listen, I wish you the
"Hello."
best. I hope you knock this out of the park.
Thanks,
I mean, I
Peter.
hope it does
Thank
great
you.
things.
We just want to bring some fun and entertainment to during a pretty epic, different time in our lives,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it. Be well.
Love you.
Okay, love to the
I love you all.
family.
Yes.
Okay, guys. Now, Rachel, we are going to answer some fan questions. Thank you all for submitting to SpeakPipe. First up,
Hi, Melinda and Rachel. My name is Alexa. I'm a huge fan of you both and the show The OC, and I'm so excited for your new project. My question for you is, had either of you been to Newport Beach or The OC in general prior to filming, or was this like a foreign place that you guys had to learn about and prepare for? Thanks so much. Bye.
Mindy, I'll let you take that first.
well, thank you, Rachel. I grew up in Dana Point, which is just a few miles south of Newport Beach. I talk about this, or did talk about this in our podcast today. It's it was my hometown. But I do believe that the show that we're portraying is something that I kind of saw from the outside. You did see, 16-year-olds driving Porsches and Ferraris and getting their BMWs for graduation, and I drove a '64 Volvo. So there's, it wasn't the Orange County that I grew up in, but then I actually did meet quite a few people that did live in this world. And of course, subsequently, we have the Real Housewives of Orange County. And there is a lot of that bling and perfect manicured lawns behind gated communities. And but to answer your question, yes, it was definitely a stomping ground for my whole entire childhood.
Yeah, I'll say
still is. My mom still lives there. I go all the time.
Very familiar with the OC, right?
So very familiar.
Yes.
Yeah. To answer your question, I'm very familiar with the OC. We used to call it Behind the Orange Curtain, and nobody said the OC, but it's interesting. Everyone says it now. So Rachel?
Yeah. So I'm from LA, which is, not far from the OC. So of course, I was familiar with it and had been there, especially growing up. I had friends that would always go to Balboa Island, and it was like the place to go, So I had a familiarity with it, not to the extent of, what Mindy was talking about, like what the kids were really like there. But I don't think it was that different from some of the places I was around in LA growing up. So there was definitely a familiar tone, I'll say.
Hi, my name's Dan. I'm from the UK. And what I'd like to know is, what was your favourite storyline from the OC? Either one you was involved in yourself, or that somebody else was involved in.
Rachel?
I haven't watched all of them yet. My favorite storyline? That's a tough one. Mindy, I don't know. You go. I don't know. I don't remember a lot.
Well, let's keep it focused on the first season, since that's what we're talking about. I think one of I remember being so excited. I remember opening the script. Wait, now I'm mixing up a couple different storylines. I'm sorry. Oh no, I know what it was. So Caleb and Julie are together. And at one point, when Julie starts having the affair with Luke, pretty juicy storyline. And that's when she's kind of rejecting Caleb. And Caleb shows up with some crappy carnations from Ralph's and trying to get Julie back. And Julie says, "Is this a booty call?" And he says, "What is a booty call?" Which I thought was so great. And then there's a scene later on when Chris Carmack, Luke, is calling Julie and saying, Julie calls him and says, "Let's, knock twice. I'll be at the Mermaid Inn." And Luke, "This is a booty call." I just remember reading that script and thinking, dang, I love this show. I am an absolute fan of this show. And it was a great, juicy storyline. On a little trivial note, I read that the network insisted that we add a line that said, "Oh, right, because you're 18. So he was a year or two older than, that was the only way they were going to allow the storyline, which I'm glad they did, because, that would have been improper. But I really liked that storyline in the first season. I thought that was great.
Thank you so much for listening. Please remember to follow, rate, and review Welcome to the OC Bitches wherever you listen to your podcasts. If you like to watch us, check it out on YouTube.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. See you next week.